Lieutenant, am I right? Lieutenant Colonel Willis for coming tonight. I want to thank District 3 Councilwoman Willis, Mr. Benny Crane, David Williams, Angela Dingle, and Ivan Reynolds. And our scorekeeper is Mr. Harold Reed. Our moderator is Kathy Adams. First, usually I would thank the pastor, and he had to step out on the emergency. I want to thank the shepherd of this house for allowing us to be in his house. And so I'm going to always do what I'm supposed to do in his house. So I want to thank Pastor Foster and the other ones that should be here. We're going to have the welcome. Let us give moments of reflections. Do we have any pastors, ministers in the audience? Any deacons? Deacon on the stage? Okay, come on and give us a quick prayer, Deacon Reynolds. Thank you.
Thank you. Let us go before the throne of grace. Gracious Father in heaven, we thank you, Lord, just for this moment. We thank you for the shepherd of this house, oh God. And we ask, oh God, that you be with all that are in the midst. Be with those that are on the way, those that are viewing this virtual online. God, we just give you honor. We give you praise in Jesus' name. Thank God. Amen.
Amen. Now we're going to have a welcome by Mrs. Porsche from District 3. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's Teola Porch. I'm in District 3. To the minister of this great church, distinguished candidates, citizens of District 3 and District 7, and visitors here tonight. You know, whenever you're in the house of the Lord, it goes without saying, you're always welcome. So, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Porsche. Now we're going to read the mission statement of my organization, and it's keeping the residents and community updated and holding elected officials accountable. Thank you. I'm going to introduce the timekeeper because the person that's supposed to introduce him is not here yet. Our timekeeper is Mr. Harold Reed. He's a community activist. He's been part of Cliftondales for years. He's past former, I think, on the zoning board. Is that correct, Mr. Reed? He also is a member of a resident of District 2, one of my dear friends that I met in 2005. Our timekeeper, thank you, Mr. Harold Reed. The pastor that was supposed to introduce the moderator got called out on the emergency also. So I'm going to introduce our moderator. Her name is Kathy Adams. She was by in early high school where she received a scholarship from Bearwood High School. I think that was in East Point, Georgia. She was a Georgia girls program of the ambassador of Middle Georgia College. She also was the first at Clark Atlanta University to study political science. She later went on to Phoenix University. She got her bachelor's degree in management and business and marketing. And Kathy Adams is a well-known, I'm going to say this, she's the baddest moderator in Georgia, but I'm going to say South Fulton also. She is was a post seat holder. She was a trustee. She was a former Democratic Party state committee member. She was a Fulton County post seat holder, and she's been a trailblazer of so many and other things. Again, I want to thank Mrs. Adams for taking the lead. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to her. She will have the floor, and do what she do, and then we'll come back. Thank you, Mrs. Adams.
Thank you very much, Demita, for that kind and gracious opening. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the City of South Fulton Candidates Forum. And tonight, we will hear from candidates running for the seats of District 3, District 7, and we have one from District 1. And before we get started, I wanted to go over some of the House rules for this evening and the format for this evening. Each of the candidates will be given 2 minutes for an opening statement. They'll be giving 2 minutes for a closing statement. And I will ask the questions in the order that I so choose, but each candidate may not have the same question. However, they will have the same number of questions. So you'll have to pay attention. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond to the questions. And the timekeeper will display the time on the clock right there. So as we count down, 30 seconds, you probably want to start to wrap that up. We'll have questions that will come from the audience via index cards, and then we'll have some to come from our online audience via chat. They will be sent to me here, and I will incorporate those into the questions for the evening. Listen for the bell, and that indicates that time is up. And if you continue to talk beyond the time, I'll interrupt you and ask you to stop. Anyone have any questions, comments? Thank you. So now I'd like to go ahead and get started with the evening. Again, to my audience, my in-person audience, my virtual audience, welcome to the City of South Fulton Candidates Forum. In this year's election, we have 3 candidates that have qualified to run for the District 1 seat, 3 have qualified to run for the District 3 seat, and 2 have qualified to run for the District 7 seat. While all the candidates were invited to participate in these candidate forums, tonight we were hosting Districts 3 and District 7. We do have one from District 1 that is participating this evening who did not participate 2 weeks ago when we had that candidates forum. And each of the candidates will share information about themselves, why they're the most qualified candidate to serve in this seat and to govern this city of South Fulton. Again, our timekeeper will sound the time clock. And if you go beyond your 2 minutes or your 1.5 minutes for the questions, your responses, and 2 minutes for your opening and closing statement, I will have to ask you to stop. And we are presenting this particular forum in a fair, nonpartisan format. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'd first like to ask the candidates to introduce themselves in your opening statement. Again, you have 2 minutes to share some information about yourselves. We'll go in alphabetical order by last name. And I'm going to start with the candidate, Benny Crane.
Good evening, South Fulton, and thank you to the pastor who's the head of this household, and thank you to the organization, Mr. Demita Chapman, for putting this on, and certainly to the esteemed Kathy Adams for giving up, sacrificing so much to be here to moderate this great event. My name is Benny Crane, and I've lived in the city of South Fulton for better than 40 years, and I love South Fulton. But I'm a businessman of many decades now at a very, very high level. And I want to bring my professional experiences to the table. I'm running because I believe, like many of you believe, that this district deserves better leadership. A leader that will have decorum, humility, civility, and professionalism at all times, whether on the dais, in the community, or even in this space. I worked to create the city of South Fulton, I spent so much time working for South Fulton starting back in 2006. It was Benny Crane that went to the state legislature to get the legislation passed after I wrote the bill. I went to Georgia State University to commission that body to create the feasibility study. For without a feasibility study, we don't get the enabling legislation. So I was able to do that, and I tell you, I worked with one organization starting in 2013 because I work well with people, whether small group or large group. Through the good times and the challenging time, I was there with our organization to make sure we created this city. 6 years in, almost 7 years in, we have so much more work to do. But we can't get there if we don't have the right leadership. And I'm counting on your support for us to get that leader who has the level of professionalism, humility, decorum, and honor to make great things happen. I look forward to entertaining your questions.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to Angel Gaines Dingle. Would you prefer that I call you Angel Dingle? Gaines Dingle. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank you all for inviting me out. I was not able to make the first round due to another engagement, but I thank Demita for reaching back out to me and asking me to come back out for tonight. I just want to say that I am here to run for District 1, and I want to bring to you guys my honesty, my enjoyment for the community. I want to let you know that I am here to listen and not just make decisions without the community's involvement. I want to let you all know that I am very open with communication. I have been in the community for many years. I've played the back role in the community where people knew that I was doing things, but I just didn't want my face out there because I didn't want the recognition. But now that I see the things that are going on within the city of South Fulton, I want to be here to make that change. So I'm here tonight to answer any questions that anyone may have, and I look forward to working with everyone.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to Alvin Reynolds.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alvin Reynolds, and I have been a resident of District 7 for 25 years. 25 years I have been married to my lovely wife. We have been a stable pillar in the community. I've worked with an organization called South Fulton United, the organization that spearheaded the movement of cityhood. I was on the board as the parliamentarian. We also paid for the feasibility study. I'm also a mentor to young people. I'm also a great advocate for the senior citizens. I am also a great advocate for our communities. I am a mechanical engineer by trade, and I sat on the Planning and Zoning Commission as planning commission and then later planning chair. So I have a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience to bring to a council to produce legislation, resolutions, ordinances, and so forth, because I have been involved. That's what this election is about, involvement and performance. So again, look me up at www.reynoldscampaign.com. My number is 678-644-6472. I would love to hear from you, love to talk to you, so that we can move District 7 forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to David Williams.
Good evening. Hello. Good evening. How you doing? I'm David Williams, and I'm from Atlanta. I've been on the South Side probably going on about 15 years. Been in South Fulton going on about 12. And I'm running because I'm looking forward to a better South Fulton. And the only way you can get that is people who not only have a love for their community, but they have love for the people in the community. And that's what we need. We want people that care and concern and have the same situations and problems that everybody else. You know, I have an autistic daughter. I have a senior mother. You know, those people have situations and problems that somebody need to think about when you make decisions and plans. I spent 20 years in the military, so it's not whether I know it or don't know it. It's whether I know how to find the information to get it done, to make decisions, the best decisions to help each and everybody. And that's why I'm running. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And next we'll hear from Councilwoman Helen Willis.
Thank you. Thank you to all the organizers who brought this to forum to fruition. I'm a proud mother of 4 children, 8 grandchildren that I share with my husband, Lieutenant Colonel Vincent Willis. I am a native of Savannah, Georgia, and he recruited me here over 23 years ago. My family has been deeply rooted in District 3 since 1977. My education background is I have a BA in accounting from Savannah State University and a master's in financial accounting from Keller Institute of DeVry. I'm a proud member of Enon Church, a Baptist Fellowship. I work and live and worship in my community. I have been serving this community for 6 years, and I have been responsive to the residents. I have been responsible with our tax dollars, and I have tangible results. I have addressed blight. I have addressed our parks that have been in disrepair. I have addressed the crime. We now have a police precinct. We have multi-million-dollar renovations underway in our park. In our parks, we also have several economic development projects underway. What District 3 needs is a leader who's going to be consistent, who is going to be take into account the desires and the needs of the residents who live, work, and play there, and also who will make sure that they have the best quality of life. I have worked with several community groups as well to bring this city into fruition. And I just would like to say thank you to the state legislators who work with the Legislative Council, who actually wrote House Bill 514 and created the charter. And thank you to the residents who voted for us to become a city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So now, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from our candidates that are vying for the seats. They want to be your next council member for the city of South Fulton. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. Our chat lines are open via online or in the virtual platform, but also I invite my audience to send index cards to the front with questions. So again, each candidate will have the same number of questions. You may or may not have the same question, but they'll be in random order. I'd also like to ask that when you speak, you'll have to hold the microphone up because they're having challenges hearing you online. So we'll have to speak directly into the mic. So the first question is, how do you avoid a few loud voices to drown out the silent majority on public policy like zoning issues, for example? And Mr. Williams.
Well, I would think, first of all, if you're open and honest and explain to people the things that's going on, give the information out. That's the key, information. A lot of people are loud because they have lack of information. They don't know everything. And then you have the rumor mill. So in order to kill a rumor mill, you make sure you have the information out there, legible and understandable so people can know.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. How do you feel about breaking the charter, the rules, and regulations? Because you've made campaign favors. And that question would be for Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you so much for that question. Our charter is something that governs us and that we should abide by. And that's why I'm running for this office, because I'm a candidate who follows the rule of law. Rules of laws have been broken. Rules of laws have been done in shared interest and favorable interest in our district. And so we have to make sure that we follow the law in a manner in which we believe in it. And so if we are not going to be good stewards of the laws which we are, in the laws in which we take oath to uphold, we shouldn't be in the seat anyway. And so these are the things that we want to make sure that we bring to the council, govern ourselves accordingly, taking care of the charter, abiding by that charter, and not allowing ourselves to be coerced by special interests, not allowing ourselves to be coerced.
Thank you. Thank you. Time is up. Thank you. Next question. If you had to make a decision regarding residential trash service and bulk waste removal, what would you change? Ms. Gainstingle.
In regards to bulk waste removal, I don't think I would change anything because honestly, I enjoy the bulk waste removal. I have not heard many people complain about that change that has happened with bulk waste removal. I do know that some people the only issues that I've heard is that some of the elderly are not able to get it there and stuff of that nature. But as far as what's going on right now, I don't think I would change anything.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I just received an index card from the audience, and it's a little challenging to read the handwriting. So I'm going to ask that as you write your index cards, please make it as legible as possible. I'm going to attempt to read this. And this is for Councilwoman Willis. It says, can you tell me why you reported me out next door regarding the video of you and Councilwoman Gums?
Nextdoor has a policy called Community Guidelines, and Nextdoor is to provide information and be respectful. The information that was put out regarding the video was a mischaracterization of what happened. It was requested through open record request by 2 community members who live in our district, and it was put out to be used to politicize the incident. The promoter, Mr. Chris McCreary, went out and explained that the video was not a full representation of what happened. The video should not have ever been released in that manner. That was an internal discussion concerning the credentials, and the young lady that I had a discussion with ended up apologizing to me and Councilmember Guns for being very rude. And so the post was reported by not only me, by several individuals, because it was a mischaracterization of what actually happened. It was not a full depiction of what actually happened. And I just think that according to community guidelines of Nextdoor, everyone should be respectful. And Nextdoor agreed with me because the
Thank
video.
You. Time. Next question. What actions would you take to address the millage rate in the city of South Fulton? Mr. Crane.
Thank you for that question. That's a great question. I'll tell you what I won't do. I will not sit up and give myself a raise or vote for giving myself a raise 2 times in 6 years and not do something for the property owners in Fulton County, in the city of South Fulton. 2 times in 6 years for a part-time job. It is part-time by charter. So what I would do, I would make sure we are sensitive to the needs of those taxpayers who are paying their blood, sweat, and tears. The millage rate is almost the highest in all of Fulton County, with over $70 million in the bank, giving yourselves raises with a $60,000 P card that we walk around with without accountability. We have to be accountable to the people. So the millage rate should have been rolled back years ago. But no, we didn't do that. And that's why we have staff assistants who are making as much or more money than a police officer, at least at one time. So we got to be prudent with our spending, and we got to make sure we take care of the money as it relates to the citizens first and ourselves last.
Thank you. Next question. What is your position on how to handle elected officials' illegal entitlement actions for VIP passes, gifts, and treatment? Mr. Williams.
To me, and I've always had a thing where it's not about who you are, who you know. It's about being fair. And so if Johnny can't get the VIP pass because he's Johnny, then nobody else should be able to have it just because they're in a political party or they're in the office. Everybody works hard. Everybody makes money. So I always thought if you elected official, you're an actor, singer, whatever, you have the funds to be able to handle things yourself versus trying to get something. Because a lot of times when you get something like that, they're going to expect something in return. So that's the reason why you don't do it, because somebody's going to respect something in return.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. CDBG grants, Community Development Block Grants, are a source for community redevelopment. This will be an excellent funding source for the rebirth of the Old National Corridor. Has South Fulton applied for these grants? And if so, what are the projects slated? If not, then why? Councilwoman Willis.
City of South Fulton has been receiving community block development grants since 2021. We received our entitlement in 2020. The community block development grant list is on our city website. The community block development grants are not just for Old National. They're for every part of the city that is within the zoning of lease development. And so we have Old National, we have Welcome Mall, and several of the funding will be applied to the multi-million-dollar renovation that's underway in Welcome Mall Park. And then we are looking to apply some of it to Old National, building out of the police precinct and courthouse. And so the community block development grants will be used to help with remediating the property that we are going to use to build the police headquarters, and also fund some of the projects that are currently underway at Welcome Mall Park.
Thank you.
And lastly, we have received over $700,000 in community block development grant because we are a city large enough to have our own entitlement. Thank you.
Thank you, Time. Next question. This question is for Benny Crane. How closely are you affiliated with the collaborative group who proposed the dangerous lithium battery storage plant? And what is your position on that storage facility?
I'm not close to them at all, and probably after this goes public, I will be even less close to them. I absolutely am opposed to that development coming to this community where I have lived for the better part of 50 years. So it's just interesting how, they just come out of the blue to come to our neighborhood, and we get people who sit on the council who are straddling the fence on these issues. But you can't talk about that development without talking about taking gratuities. And I tell you this, I won't be on video asking somebody for an illegal gratuity because it speaks to the ethical guidelines that our charter prohibits those kind of things. So we talk about leadership that you can depend on and trust. How can you trust me to fight off lithium storage facilities when I can't trust you to not take gratuities or ask for gratuities and it's there for the whole world to see?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. When you compare the city of South Fulton to other communities of a similar population, the South Fulton crime rate, violent and property crimes combined, is quite higher than the average. What will you do differently to help bring this down? Ms. Gaines, Dingle.
What I would do to help bring the crime rate down is actually have a conversation with Chief Meadows to figure out what's going on in the city and what's happening, why our crime rate is as the way it is. I know that at the last council meeting, Councilwoman Willis said that in her area, the crime rate was high when she first moved there, and now it's down. So I would like to collaborate to find out what did she do for her area so that we can do for the whole city of South Fulton so that every district crime rate can be down low so that we don't have this issue in the city of South Fulton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. How do you define sustainable economic development? It says, when you set up a city government complex, when will you set up a city government complex? That question is for Mr. Reynolds, and I got this on an index card, and I hope I got the question right, but it's about sustainable economic development.
One thing about economic development is we have to have balanced economic development throughout our city. And sustainable economic development is we got to go in and make sure that we're bringing things that will resonate with the community. We're too oftentimes we're building complexes and businesses and housing with nothing for the communities to do. There are no clubhouses when you build communities. The businesses that are being put up, and I'm speaking of the business that is in the District 7 area. You know, the business that are being put up are these small boxes. They're over saturated with the same businesses. So we got to get away from that. So we're going to have to make sure that we're talking to the right people to bring in the right businesses in our area. And if we can't get the businesses to come into our area with the people that we're soliciting, let's start our own. Let's build our own so that we can build our communities the way we want to build them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. As one of Atlanta Metropolitan's newest municipalities, the city of South Fulton has been in the media all too often with allegations of corruption, intimidation, retaliation, etc. What will you do differently to offset this reputation? Councilwoman Willis.
Well, one of the reasons we're in the news because we have individuals such as my opponent who like to put out misinformation. And again, the video that was put out that is being alleged that I was demanding gratuities, which is not true. Whatever the city council has received as far as tickets was paid for. They weren't gratuities. And if you feel that someone in the city is doing something wrong, we do have a ethics policy. So file ethics complaints. You know, that's one way to address it. And if we could stop running to the news without mischaracterization and misinformation and ask the individual, you know, I'm hearing about this video, but no one has called and asked Councilwoman Willis actually what happened. The young lady that is in the video, we have a personal relationship and has had one since college. We went to college together. Before that person was a police officer, we were young kids running around at Savannah State University. I know her child. We are personal friends. We have been on trips together. And so she didn't realize the video was being taken at all. No one has picked up the phone and called either one of us to ask us what happened. So one of the ways that we can stay out of the news is stop running with the false narratives. Stop the lies. And go to the council members that represent you and ask exactly what happened. You know, as elected officials, there are some people on our council who is running to the news, who is feeding the media. You know, one of the things I do is try to keep my residents informed. They receive newsletters biweekly, they receive mailers, and they receive Thank you. Text messages. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. The city of South Fulton is landlocked with the growth and development of big box warehouses, bringing jobs to the residential area. Would you propose to bring career-based office employment to the city? Why or why not? Mr. Crane.
You're certainly right that we have a proliferation of warehouses all around us, and it's been for a long time laid at the feet of one of our neighboring cities. But whatever disease they have, the city of South Fulton has caught the disease of wanting to put more and more warehouses in our community. It was stated earlier about how to have sustainable growth and economic development. Well, we got to engage the young folk, Gen Ys and Zs, because all too often, the people that are in the room are older, and we're trying to build this city with the mindset of only the older people that are in the room without having all the players in the room. We've got to meet our youth where they are. We got to get them involved because they are our future. So we got to make sure that we have the kind of collaborative, responsible conversations so that we can put the right developments in the right places not just for now, but for years to come. And we have to make sure we involve the young people in those processes, because we'll be gone. We'll be retired, and we'll leave them with nothing but warehouses, big boxes, and in many cases, empty boxes. Remember the Rich Way that was on Old National Highway for 40 years, vacant and dilapidated? Well, that's going to happen even more often if we put more of that stuff. So we have to be very thoughtful about those kinds of developments.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. As a council member of your respective district, looking at the city holistically, you have one vote to govern across the city. How will you use that to rebuild the confidence of the constituents? Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you for that question once again. I often say that we have to be respectful with one another. If you work on common interests, find common ground, and promote that, I can't see why that would not work. There's a lot of attitudes, there's a lot of characters that is on council. But if we can just respect one another, be professional, and find that common interest for the city as a whole and promote those types of things, then I can't see our city not being successful, and being greater than what it is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next question. How should the council handle itself holding their council colleagues accountable for repeated displays of crude and disrespectful behavior during official council meetings? This is for Ms. Gaines-Dingle.
Thank you for the question. I honestly think that they need to be honest with each other and not allow each other to talk over one another at the council meetings and not to be rude. If I work with a colleague and they have done something wrong, I should be able to come to you behind closed doors and correct you. And then when we get out in front of the public, no one should know what happened. No one should know that we have had a disagreement behind those closed doors. Because when we come out in front of everyone, we are the face of that district. We are the face of the city of South Fulton. So we have to be respectful of one another and be able to hold each other accountable for the mishaps and the things that goes on within the city of South Fulton and within any district. If I'm acting up and District 5 see me acting up, I expect them to come pull my coattail and say, hey, you can't do this. But many times I've been at the council meetings, I don't feel like anyone tells each other what they're doing wrong, and that's the problem.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next question. What are the plans after 6 years for development of Washington Road? And it says that since nothing has been done thus far. That question is for Mr. Williams.
Well, that's a pretty interesting question for me. I guess what I would do, honestly, and it's just like anything else, you look and see what's needed in the area. You find out what best suits the city in that area for development, and then that's what you go to. Everything is a plan. You sit down, you discuss it, and you figure out what's the best for that community, and then that's what you work on. And I think that's one of the problems that everybody see with council, is that they're not discussing and talking. Everybody has an idea, and they run with that on their own instead of, working together collectively.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. What economic development plan do you propose that will bring sit-down restaurants with white linen, family dining, and to the backyard of the world's busiest airport? That is for Mr. Crane.
Well, the first thing we have to do, we have to have a city council that gets along. In March of this year, there was an adoption of a city of civility, and this city council has been everything but civil, I would say, in some cases. Even at the last city council meeting, a hot mic caught a city councilwoman while one of the colleagues was yet talking to the audience, lambasting him, talking about that BS on a hot mic. Now, that city council person did not use the initials, but there's no respect. That's why I'm running on a platform of ethics reform. That's why I've taken the South Fulton Pledge, where I will not bully the employees, my colleagues, nor the constituents. I will not overstep my boundaries in doing the city manager's job. So those kind of guardrails in place are going to be important. Developers are running from city of South Fulton as fast as others may be running to it because they don't want to put up with the kinds of behavior that we see out of some of the city council people. It's an embarrassment. And the only way to fix this, we have to ask ourselves the fundamental question. What is the risk if we continue to do the same thing and having the same person in this seat where there is a lack of civility, a lack of honor, professionalism, decorum, and honesty?
Thank you. Next question. When it comes down to P cards, do you think you should use it like it's your personal credit card? Councilwoman Willis.
See, the thing is, you can't sit home and professionally do nothing like some people have been on this council. I mean, on this current, in this current forum. You have to get involved. And if people have been involved and not gone home and not done anything over the past 6 years, they would have known that their council person was forefront on P-card reform. No, P-cards are not used as your personal credit card. They are used to expense your allocated budget. Each council member every year is allocated a certain amount of money to travel, to do training, to do community outreach. And this council person has never been questioned about how she has used the P card. She's never been asked to pay anything back. Any questions that have come before me about my P card, I have been able to explain every expenditure. P card should not be used as your personal credit card. There are guidelines in place and have always been guidelines in place. And I have worked closely with the city manager and 2 of my colleagues to even strengthen the guidelines.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question, and this is coming from the audience. The city is broken up into districts, but it's one city. How important is it that you work with the mayor and other district council members to make the entire city better? And how would you do so? Mr. Reynolds.
Once again, that's a very important question. This city is so divided as the footprint states. On Planning and Zoning Commission that I sat upon, and as commissioner and chair, I work across the city. I address cases from districts 1 through district 7. Oftentimes I've been called being too loud person in the room. And you know what? That's fine with me because I come to educate. I'm passionate about my city. I'm passionate about the development and things that go on in this city. We have got to come together and collaborate and deal with the things that is effective and efficient for the entire city, not just your district, but it starts in your district. And so having that type of mindset in the district to make sure that we're not doing things that's unbecoming, having things that, such as disrespecting business owners, talking to the community like they don't mean anything. We can't do those types of things on council. We must communicate with each other. We must respect our community. We must respect our business owners from districts 1 all the way down to district 7.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question, how will you address the property tax increase in the city of South Fulton? And this is for Ms. Gaines-Dingle.
As we know, everything is going up across the country. So addressing the property tax, I would definitely have to sit down with council, and I would definitely have to sit down with my residents to figure out what we can do to make the property tax affordable for everyone. Due to the rate increase and due to the living increase, we know that things are going to go up. So what I would want to do is get everybody educated that don't understand their property tax, because we do have some people that don't get it, and just let them know that, you know, things do go up, prices do go up. So when it comes to property tax, I would definitely want to sit down and talk to the residents to see what we can do to help them better understand it. So when that does happen to them, they are aware and they are knowledgeable of what's going on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. Are there conversations about developing a full-service hospital in the city of South Fulton? Mr. Williams.
I've always been an advocate for we need that. There's been several times that me, myself, has needed services, and I went all the way to VA, and that's a long way to go to have a medical issue. So I've always been an advocate that we need a hospital. Now, it's good that we got Grady on Camp Creek, but still, it's closed at a certain time. So emergencies is not going to work well. So to me, if I was on council, I would find out where in the city, which district can provide a location where we can put a hospital with an emergency room, and that's what we would look for and do, because that would help the residents. The closer to something, if you have an emergency, it's most important.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. This is for Councilwoman Willis. And again, this is an index card, and I'm having a bit of a challenge reading some of the handwriting on these, but I'm going to try. What are the plans for the city of South Fulton? Something city located in City Hall. Why has it taken so long? And I'm not sure what that something is. It says, I'll have to come back to that. I can't figure out what that word is. And that's, I think that's most important. But I will ask you another question. It says, when it comes down to the charter, will you follow it?
When it comes down to the charter, I have not had a problem with following the charter. Again, we do have an ethics policy in place, and if anyone feels that I have violated the charter, and there has been some, I have had an ethics violation filed against me, and it was not substantiated. So if anyone feels that I have violated the charter in any way, please file an ethics complaint. That's what it's there for. The charter is mandated by the state, and is what we should use to govern. It is easy for people to make allegations that have not been involved since the fruition of the city, which is 6 years. What I will tell you is that I have been actively engaged with making sure that whatever loopholes that have been in the charter, I've worked closely with the state legislators to close those loopholes. I work closely with my appointee with the Charter Commission to recommend loopholes that needed to be closed. Recommendations were made, but nothing was instituted by the Charter Commission. The Charter Commission made recommendations to the state legislators, and nothing was instituted. There are some things in the charter that the council can change. That is with our right under home rules to change. And so we have made some changes along the way. And I will tell you, when House Bill 514 was created, it was understood that it was not a perfect charter. It was basically a copy and paste from another municipality. And it was understood that changes needed to be made in the charter. There are some changes that we must go to our state legislators to have made, and there are some things under home rule that the city council can make. So, no, I do not have a problem with following the charter.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question, this question is for Benny Crane. Do you actually live in the city of South Fulton or in Fayetteville?
Well, thank you. Thank you for that question, Ms. Willis. Ms. Adams. It's been alleged by my opponent that I don't live in the city. So much so that she drove up on me at my house to see if I lived there. And she's propagated that she had me surveilled and I don't live at my house and neither does my wife. Well, so the straight answer, yeah, since January the 6th, 1980. I've been a very, did I mention a very successful businessman for the last 40 years. I have homes in several places, no, excuse me, houses, properties in several places. I lay my head at 4390 Gillette Road every night that I'm in town. And I'm in town probably 4 or 5 nights out of 7. So contrary to my opponent's research team, they got it wrong again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. How do you think a council member should be disciplined for violating the charter and for those that are under investigation? That question is for Mr. Reynolds.
They should be held accountable. And whatever the law states that should happen to them, that's what should happen to them. We cannot have 2 rules of law, one for the politicians and one for the community. So we should abide by the charter, and if we violate it, as it has been violated on several occasions, then they need to be held accountable, and whatever the law states that penalty should be, they should get it. And that includes myself. I'm not going to be excluded if I violate the charter, if I violate any rule of law. So the thing is, we have to be held accountable. And under our present leadership, there have been those that have not been held accountable, and that needs to change.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. What would be your top 3 priorities if you get elected to office? Ms. Gaines Stingle?
My number 1 top priority, if elected, is to make sure I have the proper training, because I feel like you need the training to do the job. I feel like that, and then my next top priority would be to meet with the residents and meet with HOA presidents to figure out what's going on in their community, their subdivisions, as to what needs to be done, what changes they would like to happen. I also would like to sit and talk to who's ever in seat at that time from District 2 through 7 to make sure that they understand that we all can work together and be on the same page and understand that we have to work together for the betterment of the city, not just for my district, not just for their district. So those would be my top priorities. Training would be 1, meeting with the residents for the presidents of the HOA so I can understand a better sense of where they're coming from and what they need for their community and their subdivisions as far as crime rate or whatever's going on. And then to sit down and talk to council so that we can have a better understanding that we can all work together as a team to make the city look good like it's supposed to be.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. The city of South Fulton recently voted to increase minimum wage for its employees, making them the highest paid in the state of Georgia. How will the citizens afford to pay for this increase? Councilwoman Willis.
We have passed a $200 million budget, and we have a $70 million surplus. We have a $70 million surplus that we must be careful of because of the national pandemic, we were shut down for 2 years, and so we have not been able to do a lot of our capital projects. We are now on the way of building a police precinct, a training center, and so that $70 million surplus will be eaten up. To roll back a meal rate of a half a meal, it benefited our residents maybe about an average of $50. But the biggest benefiters of that was commercial owners. And so we have to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible. We have a $200 million budget that outlines how we're going to build several of the important buildings we need in our city, such as headquarters, our courts, and we have identified locations we may want to break ground for City Hall, but we can't do everything overnight. We're only 6 years old. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. There are several new sidewalks in the city of South Fulton. What projects are slated to repair existing sidewalks and roadways? Mr. Williams.
Well, actually, that's a question I probably couldn't answer because I'm not in office. I don't know what the project is for sidewalks. But I'm glad the city of South Fulton has started to do sidewalks because in our community, I've even walked to the store, walked up the street with my wife, and we had to walk in the street. So being the fact that we are getting getting sidewalks, I applaud the city of South Fulton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. I do have another question from the audience, and this is for Mr. Crane. It says, where do you claim homestead exemption?
The only place that you can legally claim homestead exemption, and for those who may not know, homestead exemption is a special exemption that you get if you're a property owner and you reside in that household. And you can only get homestead exemption legally at the address where you reside. I've already answered the question where I live. I live at 4390 Gillette Road, and that's the only place I can legally take a homestead exemption. So I want to be very, very clear. Apparently, I was not the first time, or perhaps that question came in before I had answered the previous question. But, you know, this just speaks volumes to the proliferation of misinformation that my opponent has been propagating because they anticipated this day right here several years ago. And the way you try to neutralize somebody, you start with a very long runway to neutralize them by saying, I don't live in a district. Here's what I would say. If you believe I don't live in the district, challenge my residency. That's how you do that. See, this speaks volumes to my platform that's ethics driven. And the question was raised about how do we get people to get along and what guardrails do we have to keep people on track on council? You got to have a strong ethics guideline to make sure that people know what they are, but more importantly, there must be consequences. People are doing things and there have been no consequences. The state legislature stripped away some of the powers that the council used to have in being able to remove somebody for egregious offenses. We've got to revisit that conversation, but it's all about being honest and with integrity and stop propagating things that you know are not true. That's how people get along, when they know that you can trust your opponent, your neighbor. But that's why we don't get along on the city council, because they don't trust one another.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. What policy do you feel should be implemented to remove a mayor or a council member from office? Mr. Reynolds.
They got to go. It's simple as that. Implement a policy that if they're not doing their job ethically and mishandling funds and doing all kind of egregious acts, they need to go. And that policy need to be the first policy that sits in City Hall, because we come to work for the people, not for ourselves. I come to serve and not be served. And I'm telling you right now, we can no longer stand for that type of activity that has been going on, and people have to be held accountable. Yeah, create a policy that will be stern, strong, that makes sure that if you are violating the charter, if you're violating the community, if you're violating your council persons, your mayors, and so forth, you need to be removed from office and bring the community involved in that and have a hearing. Put them before the community, because they're the ones that pay the taxes. So, yeah, they need to go.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So this is another question from the audience. It says, term limits should support or disagree to term limits. Do you support or disagree with term limits? If so, then what length and time limits should be incorporated? Ms. Gaines-Dingle.
Can you repeat that question so I can make sure I
Do you
understood it
support
correctly?
term limits? Do you agree or disagree with them? And if so, what length and time limits should be incorporated?
I do support the term limits that are in place right now. I can't say that I would change them. I do support them. I do think that if you run for an office and you running for an office and they elect you in office for those 4 years, I think that you're supposed to sit those 4 years out. And I think that you're supposed to let the public know that you promise that you're going to be there for them 4 years unless something drastic happened and that you have to leave. But I do support the 4-year term limit.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next question. How do you handle code violations throughout the city? This is for Mr. Williams.
Well, first, I think I'm not sure how code enforcement works, but I know I've called them several times, and also my mother's called them. So to me, I think, one, we should get real strong with code enforcement because there's a lot of HOAs who are having problems. There are people who don't have an understanding about an HOA. So those we should educate and explain to them just because you bought a house or just because your grandmother bought a house and you moved in it, there are rules and regulations that have to be abided by HOA. So we educate those people who don't know. And then once you educate those and those who do know, we go ahead and start fines. And we do fines just like we do anything else. When you don't pay, you pay. But to me, we should have a HOA court. That way you can handle issues like if somebody have a problem with the HOA itself, then you have somebody above them that can help them out. Because a lot of seniors are having those problems. I've gone to my mom's neighborhood and and pressure washed 3 senior homes. One's 85, one's 89, and one is 73. And I pressure washed their house because they was fining them because their house was dirty. They live alone. There's nothing else they can do. So I was glad my mom was able to call me so I can go help out.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. City of South Fulton council members recently voted to increase their salaries by $20,000. Why not put this on the ballot before the constituents? Councilwoman Willis.
We did not vote to increase our salary by $20,000. We used a wage and study to determine what our salaries should be increased to. When I got elected, our salaries were $13,000 a year. We did a wage and comp study, and it came back to say that we should be getting paid roughly over $33,000 a year. When the council increased their salary the first time, we didn't want to take the full increase because we wanted to make sure we took the increase in moderation. So we took the first increase, a percentage that was recommended from the wage and compensation study, and then we took the second increase this time. So it was not a $20,000 increase. It was a $10,000 increase. And I also want to mention that, you know, if we're going to tout that we are going to run based on civility and decorum, then that should be displayed in forms. You know, y'all don't give us time to rebut, but I've been accused of doing a lot of things that I have not done. I have not ever stopped by my opponent's house because I haven't seen him in 6 years. I haven't seen him in 6 years. The first time I've ever seen him at a council meeting was the last council meeting. One of the reasons I got elected is because I was working before getting elected. I didn't promise people that I was going to do a lot of things. I was already participating in my party, a Democratic Party. I was already doing community cleanups. I was already doing civic engagement. And so I am simply running on a record of results. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. Can you tell us how you would handle the voter's opinion? Ms. Gaines Dingle.
How I will handle the voters' opinions is simply just by listening to them. Everybody know that everyone has an opinion, but no opinion is wrong or no opinion is right. So you just sit back and listen to what the voters have to say, and you take it all in. You fix what you can fix, and then you try to fix what you can't fix by working with other people. So I would handle the voters' opinions by just listening, just taking heed to what they're saying, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that voted you in.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next question, and this is for Mr. Crane. It says you ran for mayor when the city was first formed. In 2 years, if you were elected for If you are elected for a 4-year term to the council, would you abandon your seat and run for the mayor's seat?
Thank you for that question. Unlike my opponent, I plan to serve the full 4 years of the term starting in January. But let me say this. The truth eludes my opponent, who stopped by my house while I'm in the yard working, but that's okay. It has been about 3 or 4 years ago, and listen, we don't all remember everything, but that's okay. But it's not okay to suggest that civility start here when I walked on this desk and extended my hand to my opponent who sits to my left, and she said, "That's okay, I'll pass."
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next question. Would you treat this position like it's the people's seat and not yours as an elected official? Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you for that question, and it is the people's seat, and we don't highlight that enough. We can't go in thinking that is ours. We didn't put ourselves there. We were elected to be there. We cannot go into an office and think that the office is ours. We cannot go into an office and think that that office only supposed to benefit us. Oftentimes, you will never hear me say I. It's always we. I cannot do anything without the community. I cannot do anything alone. So why would I think for one solid minute that the people elected me, Alvin Reynolds, District 7, to a seat and I not involve them? It's preposterous. We have to stop this. We have gone on too long in this city with nonsense. 6 years in, but I tell you this, we were operating as a city far before we became a city. We've been paying taxes far before we started paying taxes. So this is not new. We know these things, but to act like this seat belongs to any individual is just out of order and is not right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next question. What policy do you suggest for ethics violations that would cause for removal from office? Mr. Williams.
I guess first we have to look at what the state law is, how ethics commissions handle things, and that sort. So once we determine how they handle those things, then we use the things that will apply best for us. You can almost say sometimes in every level there is a way to handle things. So you handle the best way that fits the situation. So if a council person is being disrespectful, it won't be the same as a council person using a P card, overspending or whatever. So you will have to find out what the law for the state or for the commission ethics board is, and then you utilize that and you make it suitable for the city of South Fulton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. In most municipalities, if an elected official is not working, he or she may not receive VIP treatment. Additionally, gifts valued over a given dollar amount are forbidden. Does the city of South Fulton have such a policy? If not, what is your proposal on establishing one? Mr. Crane.
Again, this speaks right to the core of one of the major planks in my platform, and that's ethics reform. There are guidelines in place, but people are not following the guidelines because they know there are no consequences. For over a year, the ethics board for the city of South Fulton was non-functioning because it was poorly constituted and they weren't able to get anything done. I sat on the Charter Review Commission this time last year, and one of the key things that came out of that Charter Commission work was to reform the ethics board so that we can start to hear cases again. But the key to having a strong ethics board is you got to make sure that they have adequate bite to them. People need to start feeling it in their pockets. And, that's typically where you hit people, where they'll feel it. And with continued violations, then we got to start talking about some real sanction. Censuring someone doesn't work because some people are just so callous and just don't care so much that they don't care about you, censuring them. Hit them in the pocketbook, but repeated cases, we got to make sure we clean house. And that's why this race is so important, ladies and gentlemen, because our city is not where it should be because we don't have the caliber leadership that we deserve. We deserve better. We deserve a city council or city council representative from District 3 that's respectful of all men, even in this room. Just this week, they were having executive session that had to be shut down because of incivility. We've got to do better. And if we don't do better, there'll be consequences.
Thank you very much. So here's another question from the audience. A lot has been said about negative behaviors on current council members, their actions, and so on. But the campaigns appear to be negative. If you're running a negative campaign, how do you just turn that off and turn off the negativity once you're elected? Please share something positive about the city of South Fulton and how you can make it better. And I'm going to ask that question to Councilwoman Willis. But I'm going to circle back, and I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to answer that question.
Thank you, because that is a very valid point. In every forum that I have participated in with my opponent, he has been very negative. He has put out information that is not true. If you're going to be transparent, if you're going to be honest, then look in the mirror. I mean, I have information that I can put out, but I have not put out. My information that I have put out have been information about what I have accomplished over the past 6 years. I have not sat here and attacked my opponent the way that he has sat here and attacked me. Look at his information. What his push card says is what he will do, and it's very negative. It's not what he has done. And so when they go low, we must go high. Here are some positive things that have happened in the city of South Fulton under my leadership. When I got elected, we had a blighted and dilapidated fire station. That fire station has been renovated. We did not have a police precinct. We now have a brand new police precinct. We had a closed tennis center. We have invested over $1 million into our tennis center, rebuilt all of our courts, installed underground lighting. We have also multi-million-dollar investments underway in Welcome Park. We just passed legislation that we will invest $1.5 million into the Welcome Park pool and rebuild the entire pool. We will be opening a new weight room at Welcome Park by the end of this month. We will replace all of the pavilions. We will replace all of the dry rotted park benches. That stuff happened under my leadership. We have also established things to spur economic. Oh, see, I ran out of time because I've done so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next question. As one of Atlanta Metropolitan's newest municipalities.
Didn't you say you're going to have a question for everybody?
I am, but I'm going to come back to it.
Okay.
This is random.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to just tee it up. It's random. As one of Atlanta Metropolitan's newest municipalities, the city of South Fulton has been in the media all too often with allegations of corruption, intimidation, retaliation, and et cetera. What will you do differently to offset this reputation? Ms. Gaines, Dingle.
What I've noticed that I've seen in the media is I've seen a couple council people in the media, and I honestly think that there needs to be some type of NDA for them so that they don't leak anything and don't nothing get out. And that will protect the city in a whole, because if a resident is putting it out, it has to come from what they may know or what they may think they know, but not the actual facts. So I do think that something needs to be done in regards to leaked information within the city of South Fulton, within the city council, that the residents is getting wind of. So I think I would probably want to implement a rule that an NDA is to be signed by every member in council for the 4 years that they are elected in, whether they leave or not.
Thank you. Thank you very much. What suggestions do you have to make council meetings more productive and less hostile? This is from Mr. Williams.
Great question. And this is one that thought I wrote myself. I think what you do, first of all, is character-based with your council people. You have the respect for each other, and you have the respect for the audience. And you give people an opportunity to speak. When you have a session meeting, you can't tell an 80-year-old person who has a problem that, oh, we're not discussing, it's not on the agenda for what you're discussing today. We need you to come back September 26th when we discuss that. No, you allow people voices to be heard. And then you do the one thing that should be done. You get them help. You find out. If you don't know, you find out how to help them. And I think that's one of the problems we have in South Fulton. They only want to hear what they want to hear, you know. And if I'm somebody who have problems getting out, handicapped or something, I can't come to every meeting. So, you know, that's what I would do different. Character-wise, you understand the respect that you want, you give that respect out. 2, you do what you're elected to do. You serve the people, you answer questions, and you help as much as you can.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. What will be the future plans, or your future plans, for Camelot condominiums on Old National Highway and other blighted properties that are in the city of South Fulton? Mr. Reynolds.
Good question. Camelot is a hot topic. Although it doesn't reside in District 7, it resides in our city. We're going to have to come together and be truthful about Camelot. Camelot needs to be renovated. And that renovation starts with demolishing some of the buildings that are there, if not all. We're going to have to put some things in place so that we can reallocate housing for our seniors that live there while these things take place. I don't feel that this is a hard thing that should be done, because this is a serious problem. Crime is at an all-time high in Camelot. I was actually in Camelot not long ago, and the state of that area, I'm telling you, was not pleasant. Something has to be done, and we as a council person, we as a community, we as business leaders, we all have to come together and solve this problem. And we have to be truthful about it. I do know that some folk, how they feel about living there and their properties over there. But let me tell you, even God started over. And we're going to have to do the same thing with Camelot.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. A lot has been said about negative behaviors on the current council members and their actions, but the campaigns seem to be negative. If you're running a negative campaign, how do you just turn that off? How do you turn off the negativity once you're elected? Please share something positive about the city of South Fulton. Mr. Crane.
Thank you for that question. Well, here's what I'll say about negative campaigning. If a person points out my record, that's not negative. It's just a fact of the record. But let me tell you something positive. I started the organization, South Fulton United. Mr. Alvin Reynolds talked about that in his introduction, that he was a part of the organization. He was. I started that organization. And oh, by the way, Ms. Willis came and she became part of that organization too. And that organization did great work in getting us to where we are today. Well, let me tell you, a lot of great things have happened. A lot of things I'm very proud of in South Fulton. But we have work to do. We need a hospital. I'm happy to hear Ms. Willis reported out that Welcome All Park's swimming pool is going to be restored. We got 2 other swimming pools coming to South Fulton. This is one of the largest cities in the state of Georgia, and we only have 1 swimming pool. So we got 2 more. So by this time next year, we'll have 3 swimming pools, splash pads, the whole 9. So some good things are coming. Let me tell you, when we started this movement to create this city, the budget would have been somewhere around $70 million. We have a $200 million budget now. All I can say is, oh my God. That's huge. Now, that means that a lot of money came in, because if you got a budget that big, that means you got the money coming in and you're spending that kind of money. So it's a wonderful thing to have one of the largest budgets in the state of Georgia. We're one of the second or third largest city in Fulton County, and one of the largest in the state of Georgia. We got a lot to be proud of, but yet we still have work to do. And I'll be proud to represent the city of South Fulton, emanating from District 3 as of January 1st, 2024.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. From Washington Road South on Highway 29, what if there are plans, what plans are in place for growth? Councilwoman Willis.
Thank you for asking that question. Washington Road, we underwent a study, a pedestrian study. So in this 2024 budget, there is money to institute that pedestrian study. There is currently a $98 million federal project, the Jobs Corps. That project was stalled due to a contract conflict with the contractor. So Senator Ossoff has been helping me to get an inquiry from the Job Corps director, Ms. Rachel Torres, on when that project is going to start again. That project is slated to be completed by 2025. That is going to be a game changer for the region. It's going to be a over 400-bed facility with several trades that would train individuals to go to work and partner with businesses in our community. We also have a economic welcoming center that is underway. The procurement should go out for the bid within the next 30 days. And what that welcoming center is going to do, we purchased that property from the Fulton County Housing Authority, and what that welcoming center would do would be that economic development welcoming house to help us develop additional properties on Washington Road. We have a roundabout coming at Washington Road and Roosevelt Highway. That is a state project, and that will help ease some of the traffic congestion. I am very excited about where we're going in District 3. We have a Red Oak Historic District. We have a group that is working with the small businesses to revitalize the area and make sure that we are spurring economic development. I am most proud that I was on the forefront to help create our TAD in the city of South Fulton. And that Red Oak and that Washington Road area is in a tax allocation district. What that will do is allow us to invest in infrastructure. Thank you.
Next question. There are several new sidewalks in the city of South Fulton. What projects are slated to repair existing sidewalks and roadways? This question is for Ms. Dingle, Gaines Dingle.
In regards to that question, due to that I'm not in city council right now, I don't have a legitimate answer to give you that would be feasible for me to say this is what I know. So I don't know what projects are slated at this time for sidewalks in South Fulton.
Thank you. Next question. How will you engage with communities, Mr. Reynolds?
Engaging with community is one of the things that's near and dear to my heart. We will talk with each other, phones, sitting down with one-on-ones. We would do more than just have town halls. We will have events, and those events will be meaningful. Those events will be educational. We will be inviting people even to our homes, to our businesses. We will be doing mentorship for our youth. We will be supporting our seniors. We will be supporting our business owners by visiting those establishments and just letting them know that we're there for them. Sidewalks on Old National, we've been waiting on them since 2012. $700,000 allocated for grant money. None of that money has really been spent in the Old National area. And we're going to have to do better at that in putting funds in our area. And I'm bringing that to the community. And they have shared their frustration about that. So, yeah, we will make sure that we're reaching the community, reaching people at all levels.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. Should you use a P card like it's your personal card? And this is for Mr. Williams.
Well, when I was in the military and I was in supply, and in supply we had a card. And as a E5 in the United States Army, I had $10.6 million a month that I was allocated to make sure that it was spent correctly. I had a lieutenant colonel over me, and I had to let him know sometimes, what he could spend and what he couldn't. So a P card should be used just for what it's for. Whatever that's allocated for the office. And that doesn't mean getting your tires. It doesn't mean going out to have dinner with somebody that you're trying to get close to. I think it should be your budget, whatever your budget is, and those things. In the military, we had a certain thing that we can purchase and we couldn't. And it should be the same thing in office. You have certain things that you can purchase, you can't, and those things that you're supposed to, you only do it if you need to, not just because you want to or you have the privilege to do it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question, and this is that infamous question. A lot is being said about the negative behaviors on current council members and current council members and their actions, but campaigns seem to be negative. If you're running a negative campaign, how do you just turn that off? How do you turn off the negativity once you're elected? Please share something positive about the city of South Fulton and how you can make it better. And I'm going to ask that question of Ms. Gaines Dingle.
What I would say to that question is I don't run a negative campaign because I'm too focused on what's going on in the city that needs help. So what I plan on doing is the things that I am actually doing now, which I'm a court-appointed special advocate for foster kids. So I want to bring a lot more awareness to foster kids within the city of South Fulton. I help run a mentorship program for young girls in the city of South Fulton. So I'm busy focusing on the betterment for the city. So I don't focus on what my opponents are doing. I'm more focused on what I can do to better the city. I personally just don't have time for the foolishness.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. When you compare the city of South Fulton to other communities of a similar population, the South Fulton crime rate, the violent and the property crimes combined, is quite a bit higher than average. What will you do differently to help bring this down? And that question is for Councilwoman Willis.
And so we have to put things in perspective. I know it was reported out, this is misinformation, that 30349 is higher than the national crime rate. But the 30349 zip code encompasses several cities. The city of South Fulton, East Point, it has College Park. And so what we have to do is look at the city of South Fulton specifically. And what our chief uses is a measurement called CompStat. And what he's doing is attacking crime based on data. And one of the things that he looks at is how crime is addressed in the morning, in the evening, and in the daytime. The city of South Fulton is partnering with several regional task force, including the sheriff office. Next week, I know a lot of the residents have been complaining about squatters. I have been working with the sheriff, and I'm proud to say that we have next week, the sheriff office will be effectuating 16 warrants to evict squatters in our city. And so I've been successful in the city in District 3 because I pay attention to Chief Meadows' CompStat numbers. I listen and work closely with my neighbors when they say they have issues. I attack the issues head on. I have effectively addressed blight, which is directly related to crime. We had 2 blighted communities in our community, one on White City Road and one on Welcome Road. Both of those apartments have been addressed. They are no longer blighted properties. And we have addressed some of the problem blighted houses in our community. So what I would say is that our crime rate, and we also increased our beats. When I got elected, we only had 8 beats. Chief Meadows did a study, and
Thank
now
you.
we have 18 beats.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
So the next question. The city of South Fulton is landlocked, with the growth and development of big box warehouses bringing jobs to the residential area. What would you propose to bring career-based office employment? Would you propose to bring career-based office employment to the city of South Fulton? Why or why not? And this message is from this question is from Mr. Reynolds.
That is an awesome question, and that is exactly what the direction we need to move into in the city of South Fulton. We need to be focusing on career-based jobs. I am a big fan and supporter of apprenticeship programs. One that is actually going on right now over at the Parks and Rec at Burdett, and something that I believe in and that I want to extend out in District 7. Not only that apprenticeship programs through electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. We want to bring in some lawyers. We want to bring in accountants. We want to bring in even more medical facilities where CNAs and so forth. This is the direction we need to go into, because right now I just believe that the direction that we are in right now and currently is being taken, we have to change it, because, you know, we don't need any more fast food restaurants. We don't need any more bars and grills. We don't need any type of these types of entertainment facilities, and I'm not against any of that stuff. It's just that we have been oversaturated and overran, and I'm speaking in my area. Not my area, but our area, District 7 area. And so we got to make sure that we can open the door for those types of businesses and those types of career opportunities. They say AI is real, and AI is here. We need to educate our young people and our adults and our seniors as well to deal with that. And so how are we going to deal with that? We have to foster in those types of facilities and foster in those types of programs. And that's what we need to be doing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. It's that infamous question again. A lot is being said about negative behaviors of current council members and their actions, but the campaigns seem to be negative. If you're running a negative campaign, how do you just turn that off? Turn off the negativity once you're elected. Please share something positive about the city of South Fulton and how you make it better, Mr. Williams.
A great question. I think first, I don't run a negative campaign. Me, my own personal opinion about someone, it's only based on what interaction I had with them. And if it was a negative interaction, that's what I had. They may interact with everybody else great for whatever reason. It just, for some reason, they just don't care much for me. But I don't take that as a negative for me. I take it as a negative for them, because whatever reason they did it for, they don't know me. They didn't have a chance to sit down and talk to me. And what I do is, everybody want to talk about, you know, they believe in God and religious faith and all that. But I wake up every morning and I tell myself what I'm going to do good for somebody today, because that's what God would want. So I don't worry about negativities about anybody, because that's something they have to deal with. I don't have enough energy to pull somebody else's baggage with me. I have my own baggage. I got 2 bad knees. So that's how I handle it. And what I love about the city of South Fulton, if you look around right now, everybody up here and everybody that's running, they're running for their heart. They feel that it should be a change, or they feel whatever they're doing has been great. So when you have that many people that wants to make a city great, there's nothing can happen but it become great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question. How will you address the property tax increase in the city of South Fulton? Mr. Crane.
The property tax increase is a product of the millage rate. The millage rate had not been rolled back since we had become a city until there was an uprising by the community. So if the millage rate stays the same and your property value increases, that's going to translate to a property tax increase. So the rate remains the same, the value goes up. So if you do nothing, your value could possibly go up. You put a swimming pool in your yard, you add a room, you finish the basement out, your property values are going to increase, and you're going to thus have a property tax increase. responsible governments that sit with 70 plus $1 million in the bank, who's not trying to overspend, will have what they call a net zero property tax. In other words, that means the property values have increased, but we want to leave our revenue neutral, is what it's called. The property tax, the millage rate will be rolled back so that your taxes, the actual dollar value of the tax will remain the same. There is a mathematical equation to get us to a revenue neutral situation where when people's property values increase, they shouldn't always anticipate a tax increase. They should anticipate sometime it's going to be revenue neutral when you have a city who's so cash flush the way we are. So we have to be more sensitive to the needs of the homeowners. We don't have a large business economic base yet. This city, $200 million per year budget, that's mostly on the backs of regular homeowners. We've got to transition that. We've got to be smart about economic development.
Thank you.
And move that burden.
Thank you very much. So the next question. As a council member of your respective district, looking at the city holistically, you have one vote to govern across the city. How will you use that to rebuild the confidence of the constituents? And that question is for Mr. Williams.
One, you got to get out and you got to talk to people. You got to get out and get an understanding of the feelings of people or what bothers them, what their major problems is. And then you've got to show good judgment. You got to show good character. And if you tell somebody that you're going to check on something, if you tell somebody that you're going to get something accomplished, you've got to do it. It's easy to sit up here and say, I'm going to do. And then 3 years later, 4 years later, you're still saying the same thing. In order to get confidence from people is you've got to demonstrate you have the ability to listen and you have the ability to get something done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question, going back to that infamous question, says a lot is being said about negative campaign behaviors of current council members and their actions. But the campaigns seem to be negative. If you're running a negative campaign, how do you just turn that off? How do you turn off the negativity once you're elected? Please share something positive about the city of South Fulton and how you'll make it better. Mr. Reynolds.
Once again, thank you for that question. I don't run negative campaigns. When you look at my platform, it's all about me. It's all about what I propose to do as your city council. But the facts are the facts, and we can't get around that. And so if things come across negative, that's just that we want to know more about the candidate that's running. We need to know more about the person that is in office. And so those things has to be on the table. As a candidate, as a public official, your life is an open book. And so not running a negative campaign, as everyone has stated, it is tiresome. I don't have the time for it. We've never ran a negative campaign. We've always stuck to the facts. And one thing about our city, especially in our area, that I can say that was good is when we worked together and made sure that we put those street lights right there at Beseda and 138. And not only that, at Beseda and Old National, who that charge was led by none other than some of the constituents in the community with state legislators, and we did this together. That's what it's all about, working together from the municipal level, from the state level, from the community level. And that's happening in our city. It is not highlighted, but it goes on. And that's something that I will bring to the council, and that's something that we will be doing as your next city council representing District 7.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next question. What can be done about the garbage transfer station on Welcome All Road? Councilwoman Willis.
Thank you for that question. That Walkmart transfer station on Walkmart Road existed before we became a city. It is a legal operating business. What I have done since I have been in office is work with them to improve the conditions of the transfer station. They have installed a new mist system, so we no longer smell an odor. When I got elected, we used to smell an odor throughout the entire district. We no longer have that because they have installed a new mist system. I've also talked to them about the aesthetics, and so they currently constantly put up skirting around the fence. So that we would not see what's happening in that transfer center. They have also painted the transfer center. And so that was one of the first things that I was charged to do when I got elected, is to address that transfer station and also address the blighted apartments that was across the street from the transfer station. I am proud to say that that former blighted apartment is now workforce housing. We worked with a developer and they came and renovated those apartments. So it's workforce housing, and the transfer center has a new mist. We don't smell an odor. It has been painted, and it also has skirting around the fence. And when that skirting is worn and torn, I contact them and request for them to address it, and they have addressed it. We cannot put them out of business because they were there before we became a city. It is a legal operating business, and where that transfer center sits is industrial, and that area, unfortunately, is zoned for an industrial use. And so we have to live with it, but we can hold them to make sure that they are maintaining the standard of our community. We don't want to smell the trash that's being taken there. We don't want the facility to look blighted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next question. The city of South Fulton is landlocked by the growth and development of big box warehouses, bringing jobs to the residential area. What do you propose to bring career-based office employment to the city? Why or why not? Ms. Gaines-Dingle.
I would want to first find out what type of businesses that they're going to try to bring for office businesses to the city of South Fulton before we can make that recommendation. I know that they are having a lot of big box warehouses, but I do know that they have in a charter where there's something where they're zoned for that area, which is the Oakley industrial area and the Fulton industrial area. So I would definitely want to find out what businesses are they trying to bring in the city of South Fulton for the residents.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Next question. Why is it acceptable to exempt one type of business from following an ordinance in District 3 but not in District 1? It's not acceptable to exempt businesses from ordinances. Your opinion on that, Mr. Crane?
Well, it's not fair. It is absolutely unfair, and I think I know where that's going. The adult entertainment area, according to city law, we're just going to call it that, ordinance law, you cannot have alcoholic beverages served in an adult establishment. But some people are advocating for these people in these establishments to be able to get, well, in one in particular, in District 3, to have an exemption. I understand that this particular business that's on Roosevelt Highway kind of fell through the cracks. It was unfortunate. That was a moratorium that was in place. But due to some poor leadership and some ineptitude, this business owner was able to open legally. That was one mistake, but we cannot compound the mistake by saying, okay, since we made a mistake in allowing you to do business, we're going to violate our own guidelines by allowing you to sell alcohol in this establishment. Now that's for that business. Now somebody on the other side of town in District 1, they would like to have the same thing. Give me an exemption. Well, when you start having all these exemptions or considering these exemptions, you have chaos. So the law is the law. We want to abide by the law. It's unfortunate that it occurred, but we have to be consistent. If you have a policy, we have to own it. If we made a mistake, we have to own it. And that will be the kind of differences we want to make. We want to own up to what happened and don't compound the problem by doing exemptions that are in violation of city law.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to a close. We've come to the end of the forum, and I want to thank each of the candidates for their comments and sharing with you some of their views and their values and their positions on where they are and how they will govern and lead. So now we're going to move into closing statements. Each of the candidates will be given 2 minutes to share a closing statement, any information they want to share about themselves and how you can help with the campaigns, take a yard sign, donate, whatever they wish to share or how they wish to govern. So again, we're going to go in alphabetical order by last name. And I'm going to start with Mr. Crane, please.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. Ms. Demeter was right. You are the best moderator this side of Texas. No question about it. You've done a spectacular job, and we appreciate the way you've managed this affair. Thank you, South Fulton, for being here. You are greatly appreciated. Those of you that are online, we thank you so much. And to those who are running for this district, Ms. Willis and Mr. Williams, thank you for being such great candidates. I want to continue to run this race, and I want to run through the finish line because I believe that for the future of our community that is crying out for civility, decorum, professionalism, I think I represent the best hope for that outcome. I commit to you that if I'm fortunate enough to be your next city councilman for District 3, that I'll be in that position for the duration of the term beyond the mayor's race. That won't be something that will woo me away. I will be committed to this community for the duration of the time. Why? Because I love South Fulton. But when I started the journey to create this city, it wasn't that I just loved just District 3. I love the city of South Fulton. I believe that the election of Benny Crane would be an improvement for our city, and you will see the difference. I make a commitment to you. If you vote for Benny Crane and we're successful, I'll just end on these words. Well, before I end on these words, I'll say visit my website at bennycrane.com. But vote for me on November 7th. Early voting starts on October the 16th. Vote for me, make me successful, and I promise you, I'll make you proud.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next, we will hear from Ms. Gaines Dingle.
I just want to say that thank you for having me, and great job on moderating, Kathy Adams. I really appreciate it. Thank you for Demita for having me out again, for inviting me back out. I just want to say that I run my platform on positivity. My goals is to bring mentorships into the rec centers for the youth. I work with several mentorship programs within the city of South Fulton. So I do want to bring that into the rec centers so that we can help solve some of this crime rate with these youth. I feel like that they're overlooked because of the things that are going on that can't get done within the city from city council. I feel as though I'm running this race for the community, not just for myself. I know I'm running for District 1, but I'm running for the city of South Fulton as well. I just want to let everybody know that I am committed. I will sit in the seat for the entire four years, for the whole term. I do not plan on going anywhere else. I am very trustworthy. I am very open. I am very honest. What you see with me is pretty much what you get. There's no backhand agenda with what I'm doing. You can go to my website at voteforangelgainsdingle.com to read my platform, read my background, where I come from. As stated before, I do want to bring some more interest within the city of South Fulton for children that are in the foster care. I do want to work with the seniors to bring more activities in the rec centers for them as well. I am committed. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere. And vote for me on November the 7th.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next we'll move on to Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you so much, Ms. Adams, for your awesome moderation, as a stellar job as you always do. Mr. Mita Chapman, for your organization for putting this on, and to the Free Spirit Ministry for allowing us to be here. Let me just say this. District 7, it's just not a place on the map. It's our homes. It's our shared future. And go to www.reynoldscampaign.com. You can donate there. You can share information about volunteering. Give us a call. We love to come see you. We love to sit down and talk with you. And we just want you to get involved with us. Let's not be careless about what this election is about. See, in corporate America, they use this measuring tool called performance. In order for you to get a raise, in order for you to get a promotion, in order for you to become a partner, they use the performance measure. This campaign is simply about performance. And so when you look at that, you have to look at rules of laws have been broken, shared interest has been done, violation of P cards on investigations, hiring of friends and not managing staff properly. All of these things you have to take note of. So if the performance is not there, do you believe that we deserve another term or to give someone a raise or a promotion? That would never happen in corporate America. That's where we are today. This is not negative. This is factual. I would not be a person that disgrace you on that city council. I'm respectful. I'm professional. I have integrity. And people can speak to that themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So next we'll move on to Mr. Williams.
Ms. Chapman, I want to thank you so much for working with me, getting me here. Ms. Adams, you did an outstanding job, and I appreciate you. But the city of South Fulton, this is what this election is about. Whether you're 1, 3, 5, or 7, it's about what the city of South Fulton was started on, a choice. We wanted to be a city, so we chose, we voted, we went out. If you want the same thing that's been going on, then you know where you vote. If you want to change, you want to see something different, you want something to be handled a different way, you want somebody to hear you and speak for you, then you go out and vote. It's not about liking or disliking a candidate or who like them, who don't like them. It's about you making a choice who you think is the best for you. In the city of South Fulton, if you elect me, one thing you're going to think about me, whether I know you or don't, it's like family. One, I'm not going to embarrass you, and I'm definitely not going to embarrass myself. And I don't care if I like or dislike somebody else, I'm not going to embarrass them. Because when you do that, you're embarrassing the city. And to me, I get highly upset when we're on the camera. It's disappointing to me because right now, being a black city, that's what they want. They want failure. They want ignorance. They want things to look bad. That needs to change because we're too intelligent, we're too smart, and we're too innovative not to make things happen. Right now, the city of South Fulton should be one of the top cities, and nobody should be crying about their millage rate is high, taxes is high, trash service is too high coming up front. We shouldn't be complaining about those things. What we should be complaining about is why the deer's being killed on the side of the road, why we don't have no deer crossing. Those are the things we should be discussing, not all the things that we have an opportunity to change.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And next we have Councilwoman Willis.
It has been an honor to serve District 3 over the past 6 years, and I am proud to say that I can speak on tangible results. You won't find negativity in any of my material because what I am displaying to you is what I have done over the past 6 years. I want to thank Ms. Chapman, and I want to thank everybody who brought this forum to fruition. But I also want to thank my colleagues in the city of South Fulton, because I would not have been able to deliver all of these tangible results without securing 4 votes. At the end of the day, you have to work with your colleagues, and you have to secure 4 votes to get things done in your district. I want to continue to be responsible to the needs of the residents in our district. That's what I was elected to do. I want to continue to be responsive to them. When they call me, I answer. I live in my home 7 days a week. If you drive by my house, you will see my trash can in front of my house on Tuesday, because I live in my house 7 days a week. I want to continue to deliver tangible results. When I got elected, there were several blighted communities in my district. All of those have been addressed. They have been renovated. We now have new facilities, renovated facilities, a police station, a fire station, new park and recreation renovated facilities, and we have multi-million-dollar renovations underway in the largest park in the city. To say that we're not working together is simply not true. In order for me to get anything done, we have to have 4 votes. We have $70,000 in surplus because we haven't spent any money. We have a $200,000 budget because we have grown over the 6-year period. We have been fiscally responsible. We have been good stewards of the tax dollars. And contrary to what has been said, we have not done any wasteful spending. That's why we have a $70,000 surplus. We were under a national pandemic.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from all of the candidates that are running for the seats, that are those that are here this evening. Again, that is, we have a candidate from District 1. We have all of the candidates from District 3 and one of the candidates from District 7. So I'd like to say thank you to each and everyone for participating and for sharing your vision, your ideas, and your proposals on how you will actually govern in this great city of South Fulton. And so with that I say, as constituents and voters of the city of South Fulton, their future lies in your hands. You have one opportunity to vote on November 7th and to vote for the best qualified candidate to serve in a given respective district. So I'd like to leave you with this. Jot these down or come back and listen to them later. The last day to register to vote in these elections is October 10th. Early voting begins October 16th and runs through November 3rd. October 27th is the last day to submit an absentee ballot application. And there are 2 Saturday voting dates, October 21st and October 28th. They're making it real easy for you to go vote. And Election Day is November 7th. If there's a runoff, that runoff will be on December 5th. And again, as a resident of the city of South Fulton, you owe it to yourself, your family, your neighbors, and your friends to elect the best qualified candidate to serve in each of these districts. And so, in closing, I want you to be an educated and informed voter and know before you go. Know who is on the ballot, know what is on the ballot, know when to vote, and know where to vote. Always check your precinct to make sure your precinct locations haven't changed, and also make sure that you haven't been purged from the voter records. But more so than anything, exercise your right to vote. I'm going to turn the program back over to CEO President, to Demita Chapman, and thank you very much for having me this evening.
Thank you, Kathy Adams. I'm going to tell you, I don't care what they say about our city. I love our city. Even when we act like misfits, I still love my city. Councilwoman Willis, I want to thank you for coming. Candidate Benny Crane, I want to thank you for coming. Candidate Mr. Williams, I want to thank you for coming. Candidate Mrs. Dingle, I want to thank you for coming. Candidate Mr. Reynolds, I want to thank you for coming. I got a text, so let me clear this up before it hit the street. Mrs. Dingle had a scheduling conflict the night that we had her here. This morning, we only had 2 people that confirmed this debate. I reached out to her to give her an opportunity to come, and she came. Like I said before, as long as the forums is going on, I will not endorse anybody. No one can say I said anything about any candidate because I want to be fair in the process. We're going to get with the pastors because the pastor of this house had to be out, and the other two pastors, 3, had to be called out of town. When we get with them, we'll go from there. I want to thank my mayor, Mayor Khalid, for coming. I'm going to always give honor where it's due. Somebody just sent me a text, and I'm going to tell you. They said, you don't supposed to introduce the pastors and the bishops and the mayors by their title. Well, I say go to Thessalonians 15, and they're going to cover that up. Again, thank you, Mayor. You ran out the last time we were here, and I was trying to get you, but I want to thank you. Kathy Adams, I want to thank you. We talked about this, and I said it was going to have to be professional if I put my name on it. It was going to have to be did. So I want to thank you for taking my calls in the midnight hour and et cetera. So I want something, and we're going to take pictures because this picture is very important. First, I want my husband. I got to thank my husband. Come on up here with this, please. Because I get rough all the time, and y'all citizens make me rough. But no matter what I do, he always got my back, and if ain't nobody else standing by me, he going to stand by me. And when I say something wrong, and I think that's Mr. Rashad Snillings back there, when I say something wrong, he going to tell me, Demeter, you're wrong. Miss Adams, would you come up here, please? I want to thank Representative Jones for coming. I want to thank Representative Bazemore for coming. You got something else coming, Kathy, but so we want to give you this in honor for being the baddest moderator. And it says Kathy Adams, the candidate forum moderator. Candidate form 1, 3, 5, and 7, the city of South Fulton. So we want to give me that right there. I opened hers, but I'm not going to open the rest. When we did the form the last time, Mrs. Adams was here to take a picture with the pastors and the candidates. So she has the candidates and the pastors and myself on these pictures to remind you that you did an excellent job. Thank you so much. The AV team members, could you come out, please? I see one right here. David, there's some envelopes in the side of that box. Could you give me them 3 envelopes, please? I wish I can give y'all all a United partial paycheck, but I ain't finna do that. But I want to thank you guys because I didn't have pictures to put y'all on a plaque. But these young men has been here from day one. I don't have to do anything. And when the man of God opened his house, that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. And I like to give credit where it's due, the mayor. When you don't pay tithes in a church and they open their doors to you, that speaks volumes. So I want to thank this team for just standing beside me, making sure that everything is ran well. The young lady that take the pictures, I'll give her, tell her that I'll see her when I come around. Again, thank you. I have the rest of the bishops. Give me Pastor Foster's out of there, please, David. I want y'all to put this back there in the pastor's study. And we'll probably be talking tomorrow. He watching. Pastor Foster, I know you're watching. I want to thank you for just opening your doors, not only to me, but to the people of the city of South Fulton. Thank you so much. I love you. Please. The other two is here, and the rest of the pastors we're going to just take back to my house. Mr. Reed, could you come here, please? Mr. Reed didn't want to take a picture last week, so therefore, he didn't get the picture, but he got the same thing here. Thank you, Mr. Reed. I met Mr. Reed in 2005, and he's been wonderful. We don't always agree, but we keep talking. Mrs. Porsche, would you come, please? Mrs. Porsche, I met her in 2005, and we've been friends, and we laugh, we cry, we talk about our sons, and I be nosy, but let me tell you, Miss Porsche, thank you for being a friend. Thank you for always being there, and when I'm wrong, you'll tell me. When I say something, you tell me, and I don't get mad. I learned from that. So again, I want to thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. We're at the end. Whatever you do, you just make the right decision. I can't tell you who to vote for, but I will tell you to vote. I know by the time I get home, somebody going to ask me who you're going to endorse. Again, I'm not going to make no endorsements until I sit down with the team. And whatever the team say, that's what the organization's going to do. Again, job well done, all you guys. We're going to take our pictures so we can get on up out of here so I can go home and go to bed. I love you guys, and ain't nothing you can do about it. Thank you.